Inside of the safe was my 9mm handgun, my grandmother's multi-generational diamond ring, my great-grandfather's watch, and gold and silver coins, and multiple other family property that is irreplaceable.
4-1, State of Wisconsin versus Heather Honeycutt. We're set today in this matter for the sentencing part of this case. Ms. Honeycutt pled guilty to count 1, burglary of a building or a dwelling, she pled guilty to theft, movable property greater than $100,000, a felony F, or an F felony. The court set this for the time to have the sentencing hearing. The court has received and reviewed the sentencing memorandum filed by Mr. Stroud. We are in victims' rights compliance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for your time. My wife and I are local business professionals and taxpayers of the county.
Your name or initials?
Timothy Fry, F-R-E-Y. My wife and I are local business professionals and taxpayers of the county. We give back to our community by donating time and money to local organizations, including Lakeland Family Resource, Sacred Heart Church, the Spooner School District, Scott and Spooner Fire Department, snowmobile clubs, and the city and county law enforcement. My mother, Mary, is a widowed, retired special education teacher who taught in the Frederick School District. I have never met Heather Honeycutt, and she has never had my permission to be on my property. My only knowledge of her is that her and her boyfriend are friends with my former contractor. In March of 2024, I went into my pole barn and the door was unlocked, which I thought was strange. After going inside, I look over and a lot of my property has been moved around. And in the corner of my barn, I saw that my mother and my family's safe has been dug up and stolen. After my family passed away, I had major issues with the bank getting access to my safety deposit boxes. So I just decided to buy a safe, put all the estate items into it, and bury it where no one knew where it was. Inside of the safe was my 9mm handgun, my grandmother's multi-generational diamond ring, my great-grandfather's watch, and gold and silver coins, and multiple other family property that is irreplaceable. The only people who knew where that safe was located was my wife, my mother, and my father-in-law, who helped bury it. The thieves were able to get into my pole barn without any forced entry, and the only person that had a key prior other than my family was my former contractor, who was friends with Heather. The thieves or Heather somehow knew right where that safe was located in the back corner of my pole barn, buried underneath a foot of dirt, where I had heavy machinery and deer stands on top of it. It was located where no one would ever know where it was, and it hadn't been touched in years. There's no possible way any one person could have lifted that safe by themselves, and I know Heather had help in stealing this safe. And I would gladly agree to no sentence if she would just tell me who the main people are responsible. My mother is a widowed elder woman, along with myself, my wife, and my 2 young children, age 5 and 2. Knowing that Heather and other thieves had came onto our property and stolen a firearm, along with my family's legacy, makes me extremely anxious, afraid, and we do not feel safe in our own home. I've had to spend significant amount of money to install additional security measures so our family can still continue to live at this residence, but in fear. Since the initial theft, we have been targeted again and another shed broken into with no other neighbors broken into, and the person on the footage has a very high resemblance to Heather's boyfriend. Law enforcement is very aware of the other parties involved, and these people have no respect for law-abiding citizens. The anxiety and fearfulness that they will target my family again is overwhelming, considering I have 2 very young children and an elderly mother. The dollar amount of this theft is also extremely high, but the monetary amount doesn't really matter to me as much as my family heirlooms, as I would give anything to have my grandmother's multi-generational diamond ring back, because I was going to give it to my son to give to his future wife someday. The amount of this theft, as you stated, qualifies as a Class F felony. And again, I would just tell, again, if she would just tell us who the main people are responsible for this theft is, I would gladly agree to time served. But with the amount of theft, no cooperation on naming the others involved, no recovery of the firearm, and never being able to get my family legacy items back, I think the plea is light in terms of sentencing if she is going to take full responsibility for this. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This is a joint agreement for 18 months initial confinement, 42 months extended supervision and costs. This comes with a stipulation as to the base restitution amount, the first amount that Mr. Frey reported, which comes from an old estate documentation because it was all inherited items. This is a case where Heather Honeycutt is accepting responsibility for being involved in a theft that necessarily took multiple people to execute. And she's the one who happened to leave behind evidence. A cigarette butt at the crime scene where she told law enforcement she'd never been, the presence of her phone in the same area where she said she'd never been to, suspicious messages between her and the only other man who's not in Mr. Fry's family who knew where the safe was buried. And then some of the stolen property started to be recovered to people that can be connected through her 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon style through phone logs, Dakota Barf to Justin Pfaff to Heather Honeycutt. Law enforcement obviously has strong suspicions about certain people connected to Honeycutt who have substantially more criminal history than her as being the main people involved in planning and executing the heist, as well as the contractor who knew where it was buried. We've talked about that length when we talked about previously at the plea hearing and why it's in the public interest for this plea agreement to be. The reason there's only enough evidence to convict her versus them is likely because of their greater experience and skill at avoiding incriminating themselves. Basic things like not talking to the police, not keeping their cell phones on their persons when they're committing crimes, not leaving behind physical evidence. This is the primary reason for the joint agreement. This is clearly not one of the main people primarily responsible for planning, thinking up, and executing this heist. If it was, she would have posted bond long ago, as her bond that she's being held on cash for is a fraction of what this property was worth. Instead, the stolen merchandise has been, stolen property has been showing up in the hands of other people who are either more responsible or are friends of people more responsible. That being said, given the nature of the burglary, literally a safe heist of possibly the largest amount of valued property stolen in the history of our county, probation would unduly depreciate the seriousness of the offense. It needs some period of incarceration. The victim isn't even asking for everything that was stolen in the safe. The only things he felt he could prove in his mind and is asking for are the things he previously had appraisals and lists of through the estate. He had many other items that he could have attempted to get restitution for and did not. Therefore, he's never actually going to be made whole, not just because of the financial value, but also the sentimental nature of many of the items taken. You heard of his grandfather's watch, the multi-generational ring, things that he will not be able to pass on to his children. So what is the appropriate penalty for a person who is 41? She has only one prior conviction, and it's possession of marijuana from 12 years ago, whose extent in the involvement of the theft seems to be either minor or aiding and abetting in that nature, who is going to be on the hook for a substantial amount of restitution no matter what. I think given the gravity of the offense, as well as those mitigating facts with her, 18 months initial confinement is appropriate. She's already sat a little over a year. There will be additional punishment in the form of some 5.5 months or so as a result of the court following the parties' joint recommendation and sentencing for this period of time. These accomplish the goals of specifically deterring this person while also meeting the statutory requirements of being the minimal amount of confinement necessary to achieve the goals of the sentence. There will also be an extended period of time of extended supervision if the court follows this agreement, which will give a watchful eye on her and make sure she steers clear of the bad actors who have roped her into this crime and hopefully will not rope her into future crimes. According to the sentencing memorandum, that has been claimed as one of the primary causes of her negative outcomes in her life. That and substance abuse, which is another issue that can be addressed on extended supervision. So for those reasons, the state would ask that you follow the joint agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
The first thing that the court needs to consider is the rehabilitative needs of the defendant. As the state indicated, we're not proposing that probation is something that's needed here, but I do think dwelling on Miss Honeycutt's rehabilitative needs is something we still need to do. I think they're strongly indicated by this case and by Heather's history. While she has been in custody awaiting this day, there's been a limited amount of services that she could have received in the jail, but the ones that were available, she took full advantage of. And I think you can see that from the letters that were included in the sentencing memorandum. We would have put her on a program where she would get counseling, therapy. She would receive separately AODA counseling and therapy. We would encourage her and check in on her, give us social proof that the people that she is associating with are going to help her on her path and prove to you that she's a good person. We weren't able to get her out, therefore we weren't able to do those services. But I think the recommendation that we're offering and proposing to the court will get those services to her eventually. The larger proportion of extended supervision in this case, I think, will address the needs that she has: sobriety, maintaining supportive relationships, running to the good people in her life, running to the good things about life, and running from the bad. Let's talk about the gravity of the offense. Thou shalt not steal. It goes back to the 10 Commandments. That is how ancient this offense is. And it's something that we think of today when we talk about the kind of place where we want to live. We say it's the kind of place where you can leave your bike. And that conjures up all kinds of thoughts and visions and images about the kind of place that we want to live, or you would want to raise a family. And the reason why we say it that way is because in a place like that, you're free from the freedom that things will get stolen. So it is a grave offense. And the legislature has seen fit to classify this offense as a misdemeanor, depending on what's been taken. What makes this such a serious offense, what makes it a Class F felony, is the value of what was taken. Not necessarily that any aggravating factor in terms of how the theft was carried out or what was done with the property or to who. It simply comes down to dollars. So I ask you to keep that piece of it in perspective. No one was physically harmed. No one was threatened with harm. There was no violence alleged by anybody. No threat of violence alleged by anybody. The need to protect the public is that she is not a danger to the public. That's it for my comments, Judge. I really hope that you accept this recommendation, but I'm going to hand it over to Heather, who has something that she would like to say to you and to the rest of the people here today.
I want to start by saying that I want to take accountability for the wrong choices I've made that have brought me here before you today. To the victims, I truly and deeply apologize to you and your family. Also to the community and to my family. I know my actions have affected them as well. Before being incarcerated, I was headed down a destructive path. I knew I needed a change. I sat and prayed, asked for a way to help me change this path I was going down. I never expected it to be going to jail, nor did I want it to be that kind of circumstance, but it was. I needed a wake-up call, and I definitely got one. This last year has been one of the hardest and most life-changing lessons I've had to go through. While being in here, I lost everything. My home, my family was divided. I was abandoned by someone I love. My oldest daughter had to take responsibility of taking care of my youngest daughter while taking care of her own child. I stood in front of the mirror and I realized I had to face myself. I had to change myself because this is not who I was or who I ever wanted to become. The time I've had in here gave me the time to truly dig deep inside, to really find myself. I had to remind myself where I came from, to go back to my roots, to what I was taught from my family, to return to the spiritual faith that my family was so rooted in to help me to truly change. I've always tried being a strong woman, but it was always trying to do it on my own. Remembering what my family taught me is that the greatest strength you can find to lead you on the right path is that anything is possible through Jesus Christ who strengthens you. So I opened my Bible and I began to not just need, but want God's help to make the changes in me that I so desperately needed. I want to share a couple verses that helped make a true change in me. Hebrews 12:11 through 13. No discipline is enjoyable while it is happening. It's painful. But afterwards, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. So take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that those who are weak and lame will not fall but become strong. This last year has truly changed who I am and who I want to be. It's also opened my heart to what God has called me to do. While being in here, I've attended Bible studies and groups that I'm very thankful for. They helped in growing my faith and my mental and emotional strength. When I said that God opened my heart to what He's called me to do, I say this because also while I've been in here, I've met a lot of different women going through their own battles as well. And I realized that God gave me a gift of encouraging others through my own testimony. Also, while being in here, COs have pulled me aside to talk to other females to help talk to them or have put certain inmates in my pod, knowing that I'd help take care of them and encourage them and nurture them. When I am able to get back into the community, I want to be able to help others. I've already connected with a church and groups that will continue to change, that will continue my change and growth and foundation for change. I want to begin working immediately and start building a stable life for my family and I to have. Once stable and able to move even further and moving forward, I would like to go to college to become a counselor. I believe that my testimony of what I've been through can help others. I've been that woman who has been through rape, mistakes, and I made wrong choices, but I also made the choice to change. This year has been the stepping stone that has changed and will continue to change my life, and the hope to help make a change in others. As it says in Ezekiel 36:26, and I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart. God cleansed me this past year so that today I can say thank you and look at this year as a discipline that turned into a blessing. Thank you, Your Honor.
How do I say this? You have been through a lot in your life. You have had pretty much as much trauma as one can possibly have in your childhood. Granted, there are people, I'm going to tell you, that have come in front of me that have had it worse. But your life wasn't easy. It's hard to see that though with your family as supportive as they have been your entire life, you recognizing or identifying yourself as the black sheep or the one that is the one to deviate or to rebel or to tell yourself not to be in the same category or on the path as the rest of your family. Pregnant at 15, that's hard. It's very hard. And I also commend you for stating yourself as well as through counsel that essentially being incarcerated, being in jail saved your life. It may have been the worst thing that you could have thought of at that time, but it has been the best thing for you. I want to let you know that you're not in the same boat. People sitting in that chair in orange a lot tell me that, and I believe it. But for the fact that you were incarcerated and having the forced sobriety and the ability to engage in those Bible studies and those parenting classes and the AODA and those other things, you probably wouldn't have availed yourself to them. You have to change your habits. You have to change the people you associate with, and you have to change yourself. That is the only way to be better and have a better life. And hearing the statement from the victim, and I'm sure it had an impact on you as well, it's not so much the money. It's a lot of money.
This courtroom case centers on a shocking theft that left one family devastated. Heather Honeycutt appeared before the court after pleading guilty to her role in stealing property worth more than $100,000. But for the victim, the financial loss wasn't the most painful part. Hidden inside a buried family safe were priceless heirlooms, including a multi-generational diamond ring, a great-grandfather's watch, and other treasured possessions that could never be replaced. During sentencing, the victim delivered a powerful statement describing the emotional trauma his family continues to live with. He explained that the theft shattered their sense of security and forced them to spend thousands on additional protection for their home. He also expressed frustration that many of the stolen items remain missing and that others involved in the crime have still not been identified. Heather accepted responsibility for her actions and apologized to both the victims and her own family. She told the court that her time in jail had completely changed her life, saying she had rediscovered her faith, overcome destructive habits, and now hoped to help others avoid the mistakes she made. Although both the prosecution and defense recommended a lighter sentence, the judge ultimately decided that the seriousness of the crime required a stronger punishment. The court sentenced Heather to 2 years of initial confinement, followed by 3.5 years of extended supervision. The judge emphasized that while rehabilitation is important, crimes involving irreplaceable family treasures deserve meaningful consequences. He also ordered her to cooperate with law enforcement in any effort to recover the stolen heirlooms and identify anyone else involved. This case serves as a reminder that while stolen money can sometimes be recovered, family history, trust, and peace of mind are often impossible to replace.